Good evening. Today is Thursday, April 30th. It is the last day of April. Tomorrow is the 1st of May. Hooray, hooray. So, um, I am going to share with you a poem this evening from an author, an artist, a writer. Her name is Jan Richardson, and you may be familiar with her poetry. She is an artist, a writer, and an ordained minister in the United Methodist Church. And I'm just going to read this to you because it makes it a lot easier than me trying to ramble on. But she is known for her distinctive intertwining of word and image. Jan's work has attracted an international audience drawn to the welcoming and imaginative spaces that she creates in her books, online blogs, and public events. A native Floridian several generations over, Jan grew up in Evanston, a small community near the university town of Gainesville. The rural landscape, community traditions, and lifelong relationships fostered a rich sense of place, imagination, and ritual that continue to shape Jan's life and infuse her work. She makes her home in Florida, and she used to collaborate with her husband, the singer-songwriter Garrison Doyles, until his sudden death in December of 2013. So I also just want to say that when I worked at the Goodhue County Jail, I worked as the program coordinator there for over 15 years, and I had a quote on my desk that was given to me by one of the volunteers. She's also a Lutheran, but besides all that, she gave me this quote, and it's by Robert Louis Stevenson. And I always had it right on my desk so I could remember what was going on every day and remember this. Don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. And when I worked in the jail, that was kind of a hard thing to remember sometimes, because sometimes it was like, oh, I keep trying to plant these seeds, but man, they must be falling on rock or sand or whatever. But I kept that there because we cannot tell where things go once we are a part of them. And anyway, so now going back to Jan Richardson. Jan Richardson wrote this blessing. It's called A Blessing with Roots. So, a blessing with roots. Tug at this blessing and you will find it is a thing with roots. This is a blessing that has gone deep into good soil, into the sacred dark, into the luminous hidden. It has been months since the ground gathered the seed of this blessing into itself, years since the earth enfolded it. Sometimes that's how long a blessing takes. And the fact that this blessing should finally show its first fruits on the day you happened by, well, perhaps we shall simply call the timing of this ripening a mystery and a sweet grace. Take all you want of this blessing. Take every morsel that you need for the path ahead. Let its fruits fall into your hands. Gather them into the basket of your arms. Let this blessing be one place where you are willing to receive in unmeasured portions, to lay aside for a moment the way you ration your delights. Let yourself accept its inexplicable plenitude. Allow it to give itself to sustain you, not simply for yourself, though on this bright day I might be persuaded to think that would be enough, but that you may gather its seeds into yourself like the ground where this blessing began, and wait with the patience of seasons and of years, to bear forth in the fullness of time a stunning harvest, a plenteous feast. I had never read this poem until this week when I was searching for a good Jan Richardson poem. And I really liked it. So if you want to look for it, it's called A Blessing with Roots. A Blessing with Roots. That's my, I don't know if that's roots or ruts or roots, but I grew up in Texas, so it's roots to me. The Bible verse that I'd also like to just have you think about a little bit comes from Colossians, and it's chapter 2, verse 7. So Colossians chapter 2, verse 7, let your roots grow down into him, and let your lives be built on him. Then your faith will grow strong in the truth you were taught, and you will overflow with thankfulness. So I just love the idea of us growing some roots and picking, maybe having a little bit of choice in where we decide to put those roots down into the ground. And as this little last bit of Colossians says, you will overflow with thankfulness. And I guess that's how I'm feeling right now after having read that poem and reading that Bible verse to you. So I'd encourage you to go ahead and read to somebody else. Read somebody else something that makes them happy and makes you happy on the inside. Have a wonderful evening, and Trish will be back tomorrow.